How many of you are familiar with AI platforms out there like Copilot, ChatGPT, Alexa, and Siri even? Protege is a generative AI assistant that will exist on your Lexis ID and on other programs that Lexis has, like Microsoft Outlook and Word. It's like your wingman sitting on top of the Lexis legal research system, and it's always there to tap into so you can ask it legal questions, draft full documents for litigation or transactional work, summarize material, and even upload your own material into the system to use the AI assistant for analysis on the law and the documents you've uploaded. Lexis maintains a multi-model, multi-vendor large language model approach to making sure we're using the best large language model for the question you type in, meaning depending on what your prompt is, the Lexis AI brain will use a particular large language model to answer your question. We're the only legal AI service out there to have a multi-model approach to problem solving. We know that different large language models perform tasks better or worse, much like humans, and this flexibility is important in getting you the best, most on-point answer to the questions you type in. We need you to know that your data is secure and with SOC 2 compliance within the trusted Lexis environment. Lexis does not use customer data to tune or train our large language models. Users also have individual control over their prompt history and options to delete prompt history from their services. LexisNexis has a zero retention contract in place with our foundation product model providers. This ensures that your prompts and documents are never stored or used to train any large language models. By using even Protege General AI, your organization benefits from our enhanced data and privacy and enterprise-grade safeguards. What this means is whether you're using Protege to search the Lexis research database, or even the open web when you're in Protege, you are still protected by attorney-client privilege, which is very important to the attorneys. So let's talk about what you're searching when you search the Lexis research system. You'll know you're grounded in authoritative content from Lexis that keeps expanding all the time. Currently, it searches across all primary law, including agency decisions and regulations, constitutions, and court rules. The most popular Matthew Bender products and secondary sources out there, all of practical guidance, which gives it its drafting capabilities, and Law 360. Let's go live and you can take a look at how this works. So this is your Lexis research system that you know it. Doing traditional legal research, you spend most of your time in this part of the research system. Lexis Protege is located right here, but also know when you're doing traditional research, you have your floating assistant from Protege right here in the upper right corner. So you can do right paneled Protege work right here while you're still searching in the traditional research system. So it's here for you to quickly ask questions of what you're looking at. This allows you to do things like summarize the site lists and things of content, have it go through site lists of content for you and look for particular items. So this is why the floating assistant stays here, because it knows what traditional research you're working on. But if I want to go into Protege and have my work done all in the Protege world, I can switch to this icon now. The first time we come in, you will see a screen that looks like this. We are going through a user interface change, so you may see some changes depending on the next time you sign into your Lexis Protege system. We are getting away with the 4 buttons and switching to a streamlined 2-button approach where you can ask questions, including summarized documents, and have it draft legal documents. The documents button that's located here allows you to upload your documents into the research system. Upload your documents into Protege will then be located with a little plus sign, much like ChatGPT is now. So when you see that plus sign, it allows you to upload your own content. And that's actually what I did to get started on your research assignment. So going over your workers' comp problem, I actually went to documents first, located the documents I had on file that your professors had given to me, and uploaded them into the system. Once they were uploaded, I decided to create a vault. If I don't create a vault and I want to refer to those documents I uploaded later, I won't be able to do that unless I re-upload them, which takes time for Lexis to go through the documents that are uploaded. So instead, I create a vault. So I always have those two documents ready to go, and Lexis knows what I'm referring to when I refer to my vault. From here, I started asking questions right away, and I'll go into my recent conversations to take a look. The first thing I did after uploading these documents and using the vault was asked it to explain the main legal issues in the document related to the issue of whether or not the employee will get workers' compensation for their injury at the picnic. Lexis went through my documents and provided pieces of content from my documents and links back to those grounding passages in my document, so I knew exactly what parts of my documents it was referring to. This is really helpful when your documents are many, many pages long. It went through the law and gave me the tests that I needed to apply. And then it did a little bit of analysis in response to my actual person in point, Kyle, and whether or not he will be compensated. Now from here, I asked it to do some extra questions. And because we're going through a user interface right now, some changes to the user interface, Lexis was asking a little buggy and it kept telling me it was unsupported. So I asked this a couple ways and kept getting back an unsupported reply. When this happens, I need to start to try to figure out a different way to do things when Lexis is unfortunately asking, being buggy. But let me just tell you what I did ask and hoped it would be able to do. Please conduct legal research to find cases and statutes that explain the main legal issues on whether or not the injury at the picnic arose out of or in the course of employment, whether attendance at the picnic was implied, required, or provided a substantial benefit to the employer. Now, I didn't create this language. I actually got it right from the information that Lexis gave me when I asked it to explain the main legal issues. So I took some of that language and used it to draft this follow-up question. Because it wasn't able to do that, I had to try to figure out what I needed to do next. So I knew I was going to need to have to go back to a new conversation and type in what I wanted it to do, since it wasn't able to do it here with the two documents I uploaded at this point in time. I needed to know the facts that relate to why Kyle thought the picnic was a work-related event. So I asked Lexis to please give me a timeline of the facts that refer to why Kyle thought the picnic was a work-related event. It did a great job and gave me back the grounding document passages for each of the facts that led to Kyle thinking he might be at a work-related event. This allowed me to better draft a question when I went back to a new conversation. So I had a nice laundry list of different things here that happened in our scenario referring to the test for employment, workers' compensation. So I went to my recent conversations. I actually started a new conversation and had a brand new page, used ask, and this is what I typed in. So with no documents uploaded, I typed in, show me facts from cases that interpret this law, our law, when an employee's position is incentivized and encouraged to participate in work-related social events, or when work-related social events are organized by an employer with help from other employees, or when employers are encouraged to attend a social event during work hours in lieu of their scheduled work duties. I kind of thought those were kind of the biggest facts that had Kyle thinking he was at a work-related event. And I wanted Lexis to do the heavy research now. Use facts like this and go out there and find my statute and see if any other cases with similar fact patterns to mine interpret our statute that way. How do they interpret the statute? So remember, we did this traditionally together. We actually went to the statute. We even went into the citing decisions for this subsection and tried to find cases that had similar facts to ours. We even went to the annotations of the statute to try to find cases that were similar to our set of facts. And that took a lot of time. I had to do a lot of reading of cases and opening and closing of things and trying to figure out which are the cases with similar facts. Now I'm asking Lexis, do that work for me. Just go out there and find any cases that might interpret this Hawaii statute in this way. It did a great job. I was given some really key cases. I better understood what facts happened in those cases and how they would likely apply a set of facts similar to how they dealt with these scenarios that I typed in. So I came in, the degree of employer involvement in creating the event, right? What cases started talking about that? And in summary, it gives me a nice summary of what would happen with case law out there that interprets the statute similar to facts like this. So I do have a nice list of cases here. I can go on out and view all related material now. It looks like I have a couple some practical guidance materials I might want to take a look at, so some secondary materials that might help me. And some administrative code. So maybe there is some sort of regulation. It looks like it's having trouble pulling up the one. So now is my ability to go back and look at more related material that are related to the question that I typed in. So I furthered this. You get 9 extra turns of the conversation after your initial prompt. So this was, one of the extra follow-ups I get, and I typed in, are there any other cases or agency materials out there? Agency materials would be persuasive authority, but I just wanted to see what else is out there. With that similar, where it was found that the employee should get workers' compensation for their injuries. So I was giving it a little bit of bias. I want the situations when the court found for workers' comp, right? And so we have that nice list here. I can start reading when the court found there was enough factors that there was, it was a work event and they should get workers' comp. So then, of course, I asked the follow-up, give me situation when employees did not get workers' compensation for their injuries. Yes, there are cases when they did not get it. So it didn't rise to the level of a workers' comp event, right? So, and it starts listing particular things that happened and the cases they came from when it did not rise to the level. And so I can look at my own set of facts through that lens. Now, it did keep talking about the same 2 cases, Moy versus Department of Public Safety and the Ostrovsky case. So I decided, okay, I want to better understand these 2 cases. I went back to my original thread where it talked about the spring problem in my vault, where it was acting buggy and I wasn't getting the responses I wanted. And I said, fine. After asking it for the timeline, I went back in and said, fine, I'm going to give you 2 cases. How would these 2 cases interpret these facts? How would the 2 cases I know are relevant in Hawaii law deal with these facts? And what facts? We're talking about the ones from the 2 documents uploaded. Then I was able to really get a nice analysis back. I really talked about the 2 cases and the sources from my documents on how the cases would deal with that particular scenario and a summary. And it did say, if the event is integral to the employee's mission and participation is explicitly expected, then courts will likely find. Otherwise, if attendance is truly voluntary, and this was for my own, analysis I had to do, then perhaps compensation is unlikely. But it did break it down for me regarding these 2 cases. So from there, I can actually go into having it start to draft things, or we can always start a new conversation and have it draft from the beginning. But I asked it to draft a memo using the set of facts from my two documents and the law that supports Kyle getting workers' compensation for his injury. And then here is the memo that it came up with. I can open this back up in drafting mode and start editing and playing with it at this point in time. When I do that in drafting mode, I have the ability to highlight certain things and have Lexis make changes to that passage, change the tone to be more argumentative, expand upon it more. I have different things that Lexis pops up and says, would you like me to do this or this or this? So when we highlight, Lexis knows to ask you a couple questions on what you'd like to do with that highlighted piece. So that's all in drafting mode. Here's my statement of the facts. Again, the facts come from the two documents I uploaded, the legal standards, the test we need to apply, what happened, and then a nice analysis of the law and the conclusion. So while this isn't enough to turn in for an assignment, it definitely gives me a nice backbone of what a memo would look like and how it uses the law and does that analysis for me so I can do a better job and use this kind of as a beginning template for what I would need to form on my own. From here, I want you to know that there are other drafting things that we can do. So just playing with it, I asked it, using these two documents, can you create a motion to dismiss based on the facts from these documents and the law for determining workers' compensation at a social event like the picnic? And you can see here's a nice beginning to a motion to dismiss that I can start to use for the court. And we have that available. Other things it's asking me, do you want interrogatories? What else can we do for you? So there's a lot of different drafting techniques that we can apply using the documents that we've uploaded. All right, let me make sure that I got everything that I wanted to show you. So remember, we did a lot of different work here together. I started with uploading documents and having it explaining the law. From there, I wanted to keep asking questions. I was having trouble, so I had Lexis create a timeline of events that referred to specifically a particular instance why Kyle thought the picnic might be a work-related event. So I could have just done a generic timeline, but I really wanted to know more about Kyle and the reasoning behind why he thought it was a work-related event. From there, I actually went in and had Lexis do the legal research using what I learned from that timeline, taking out those particular elements and having it interpret my statute using those elements. I had it interpret case law. Remember, we went into the Moy case and the Ostrowski case and had it see how it would deal with our set of facts. So I'm basically using Lexis at every point, Lexis Protege at every point to try to start that analysis. And I always have the links back into the cases. When I'm here in the case, Protege is actually talking to me here. So here inside the case, I can ask Protege questions. It knows we're in Ostrowski, and I can start to ask it, how does the rule in Ostrowski apply this set of facts? And maybe this is when I put in my own facts. How does the rule, whatever that rule is in Ostrowski, apply a situation when the employee attended during the workday in lieu of his scheduled workday, and see how it would handle that particular fact. So we can go back and forth and do that analysis with a case right here on the right panel when you're inside a case and checking it out. So Protege is always here working with you on the level that you're at to give you that extra analysis and feedback while you're working, just like a real legal assistant would.